news. So Susan Wojcicki, right? She's making the news again. She's making the rounds, and people out there are trying to protect her once again, right? This is how the tech world is. Susan Wojcicki didn't do anything wrong. She's clearly not guilty of anything. She clearly hasn't ever made mistakes, and she clearly never needs to answer or atone for those mistakes, right? Everyone makes mistakes, and everyone has to address them at some point in time. Wojcicki, on the other hand, gets completely just, I mean, you're fine, you're good, you're okay. But the rest of us out there, we don't get to be so lucky, especially on YouTube, right? But anyway, so this was at a Wired 25 event where she's being interviewed the other day, and it says here Susan Wojcicki has a difficult job. Okay. As a CEO of YouTube, she leads one of Alphabet's biggest money makers and most popular platforms. It's actually a kind of a, I mean, maybe that's true, but at the same time, for those of you who don't know, Google, Alphabet, as far as its breakdown, YouTube only earns about 6% of what Alphabet takes home every single year, right? It only makes 6%, which means that predominantly it is a loss to run YouTube. They pay money to keep it the most popular platform for video sharing, right? But it is in fact losing money for Alphabet every single year. It doesn't really generate the revenue for what it pulls for what it costs. So that's a little bit of a BS opening statement there. But the company she helms is very different than YouTube, that launched in 2005. Yeah, no shit. When the mission was broadcast yourself. In recent years, and in particularly since the 2016 election, the service has been found itself teeming with trolls and bad information. Oh, dude, it's way before the 2016 election. I'd like to take you back to 2007. I'm sitting at the studio I'm working at in San Diego. My boss comes in. He's like, "Hey, have you ever heard of Planet X?" And I'm all like, "No." He's like, "Oh, dude, go on YouTube and look up this Fox interview about Planet X. I mean, it's on Fox. It's got to be legitimate." At the time, maybe we were so stupid to believe that. But the point is, I went and I looked up Planet X, otherwise known as Planet Nibiru, and I watched a ton of videos on what would happen on December 21st, 2012, when Planet Nibiru was supposed to come within or catch Earth in its orbit. By the way, this planet is eight times the size of Earth, and to come through and to kill all of us on Earth. That was going to happen. This was in 2007. It was going to happen 5 years down the road in 2012. And of course, obviously that didn't happen, seeing that it's 6 years later. But the point I'm trying to get to is it's always had bad information, right? It's not just since the 2016 presidential election. It has always had bad and terrible information. That's just the nature of the beast. But trying to argue like YouTube is some kind of like, God, it got wounded at the election. No, it's not right. Now, have there been like some conspiracy theories that have made their way to the top since then? Yeah, sure. But again, it literally boils down to the algorithm and how the algorithm operates. They're not even going to bother to talk about that, are they? Anyways, so it says here, if we look at openness and all the advantages it's had, it's tremendous. It's coming from Wojcicki. She says, it's really valuable, but we have to marry that with responsibility, which is true. You have a responsibility to run a stable platform. You have a responsibility to be open to the people who use your platform. You have a responsibility to be forthcoming with information and changes and what those changes mean and when they will be implemented, and doing it in a way that people understand and they're not going to be, like looking for and not getting. Now it goes on to say, your part of taking responsibility meant hiring content moderators, some 10,000 of them, to help remove the videos that violate YouTube's community guidelines. Again, that's not even fully accurate. It's not that they're brought in to help remove these things. It's that they're literally just there to process all of the new manual reviews for monetization and the reports that come in. So they're there to moderate, not just to remove videos, but they're actually probably more there to approve videos than they are to remove them. That's how I view it, at least. In the second quarter of the year, the company, using a mix of these moderators and AI, removed 10 million videos that violated the guidelines. Nearly 75% were removed without a single view, right? That's a lot of content. Now, we know that it's over 400 hours of content gets uploaded to YouTube literally every single minute, right? So while we've been talking in this video, hundreds of hours have already been uploaded, right? Like over whatever. So how much of that's going to be good, how much of that's going to be bad, how much of that's going to be spam, we don't quite know. But if you look at this, and I believe it, that 75%, so 7.5 million videos were removed without ever getting a single view. And they're just taking up hard drive space somewhere, right? They're just taking up space. Now, it says, after more than a decade of working on Google's advertising products, AdWords, AdSense, DoubleClick, Google Analytics, Wojcicki took over as chief in 2014, just as the platform was cementing its place as the dominant destination for online video. It was also a time when the service was becoming more of a home to not only online video stars like Lily Singh and Markiplier, but also controversial figures like PewDiePie. Come on, leave PewDiePie alone, man. Has he done some controversial things? Yes. He has. There's no denying it. Pewds has been controversial. But is he a controversial figure like Alex Jones, who then gets the next billing in this particular sentence? No. Oh, come on. PewDiePie has said some dumb stuff. If you've been on YouTube long enough, you've said some dumb stuff. That's just the nature of the beast. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying don't learn from your mistakes and move on with your life. I'm simply saying that it happens. That it is par for the course of not only YouTube's evolution, but human evolution and the betterment journey that we go through on our own. There's that. So, but this article is so terrible. The person didn't do any research. They're throwing out some barbs that don't need to be there. In the 2 years since, as fake news proliferated and video sharing service generated millions of dollars in ad revenue, YouTube under Wojcicki made strides to improve the service, like implementing a tool that helps battle conspiracy theories on the service and increased but also inconsistent content moderation. It also banned InfoWars Alex Jones. That's a long way from me at the zoo. Well, there's a lot there that's gone into the Alex Jones thing. It wasn't just Alex Jones being banned for conspiracy theories, because again, a lot of this boils down to free speech, free expression, and what you can say. Jones was banned from YouTube because he was doing a ban circumvention. He was restricted from streaming for 3 months on his channel. He started jumping over to different channels and streaming on different channels, and that's what got him removed from YouTube. That's what happened, right? Again, there's like, why, you're making it seem like YouTube took the whip to Alex Jones because he said that there are chemicals in the water that make the freaking frogs gay. That's not what happened. But obviously, I can't leave it, which is funny because this is Wired, meant to talk about technology. You figured they'd have the information, but of course not. And they're trying to very much defend Wojcicki, even though a lot of these problems have taken place under her control. It's been 4 years of Wojcicki as CEO, and it's only gotten worse over 4 years. Where does the buck stop? That's my question. Where does the buck stop? Right? Anyway, says in the last 18 months, I really think about us as growing up, as our growing up years. Okay. She said, adding that during the time that YouTube has put a lot of resources into figuring out and to handle that growth responsibility, saying we're committed to that, I think we're in a much better place. Are you? I mean, maybe compared to 2017, yeah, in the last 18 months, sure. Okay, because the last 18 months, she's referring to February 2017, which is when the Wall Street Journal article video slandering PewDiePie came out, and that led to a lot of people pulling out, as well as the Chief Keef video was, I believe, early March 2017, and that led to a lot more companies pulling out. So yeah, over the course of the past 18 months, there's been a lot of growing up, but that's also been where this frustration against Susan Wojcicki comes from, because when there's been all these problems that have happened with YouTube, and there's been many problems that have happened with YouTube, people are not getting answers. Any answers. None. Except very corporate written blog posts. And that's like not what they want. And I can understand why YouTube does it. I can understand why they feel they have to, but sometimes you just need to come out and say, I fucked up. And own the problems and then work to make things better. Right? It says here, now it says, such are the headaches when you have a service with more than 1 billion monthly active users pumping out hundreds of hours of content every minute. Like Facebook and Twitter, YouTube has found itself stuck in an ever-escalating battle over free speech and what content should be given a platform. Logan Paul's trip to Japan's suicide forest, pontification of the so-called alt-right. Moreover, even with good moderation guidelines in place, enforcement on a service with millions of users can often look like a whack-a-mole crapshoot, one that gets more complex when you consider YouTube is now in 91 countries with 80 languages, which is true. Here's the thing: 1.5 billion people use YouTube every single month. Over the course of the next couple of years, 2 billion more people around the world are going to get access to the internet, which means they're going to get access to YouTube, which means there's going to be a lot more people coming to the platform. Now, your audience or my audience probably won't be involved in those people, but that is going to be where things are going, which is going to come with its own set of problems. Now, what's really funny is now she says here that there's room for healthy growth, but both inside her company and outside. Beyond YouTube, Wojcicki is committed to increasing diversity in Silicon Valley. The internet has changed the world rapidly, and if a wide range of people aren't involved in that change, the consequences could be dire, which I agree with. I wholeheartedly agree with, but there is a caveat to that. But I'll get to that here in a second. Now, it says power is something that is passed on. I really think it's important for people who are in positions of power to realize that and to think that they hand it out to the next generation to think and encourage a more diverse group in tech. Well, here's the thing with that. Google doesn't want diversity in the way that they claim to want diversity. They really don't. If they did, James Damore wouldn't be fired, because James Damore's memo was really all about how to find ways to make Google more inclusive, because of the way that if you look at the demographic breakdown of STEM degrees, roughly 3 out of 4 STEM degrees are men, roughly 3 out of 4 employees at Google are men, or in tech are men. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the amount of people going in there is pretty comparable to the amount of STEM degrees that are coming out of colleges and universities. So how do you make it more inclusive? How do you make it more diverse? How do you attract more of those people? Well, that's what he was working on. He just did it in a way that wasn't considered the best in the eyes of Google. All right. But the whole point here, now what I want to laugh at real quick, right, is in this interview, and this isn't in the article, but it was making its way around on Twitter, I just don't have it brought up, is that they said if you look up just Wojcicki on YouTube, if you look up Wojcicki, you get a couple responses. And this one's funny because I made a cameo appearance. Now, this is YouTube. If you bring it up, just Wojcicki, right? And you see here, like, her interview. Okay. And he complained about that, by the way. He complained about that, saying that when you look up Wojcicki on YouTube, that you don't find any interviews with her. You don't find, all you find are critical videos. But I looked up, this is actually different than it was when I looked it up this morning, by the way. So I double checked it this morning, and this is a different search result. But now you look here, and it goes, first thing first, now Recode has an interview with Susan Wojcicki that wasn't here before, but now all of a sudden it's at the top of the list. Then you see her channel, where she's only got the one video, even though she had said, I'm going to do more videos. Okay. Then you look at, Ann Wojcicki, is the CEO and founder of 23andMe. Why is that there? Right? Like, no one cares about Ann Wojcicki. By the way, they're sisters. And Ann Wojcicki here is married to the CEO of Alphabet, to give you an idea about nepotism, right? Nepotism. I just want to touch on that one. But you come down here and you look at this one. You got Logan Paul, stumbles and mumbles, red pill philosophy. Got her. And then, what's this one right here? People want the CEO of YouTube fired. My video, right? Me with my, what am I rocking this on? Oh, my Iron Fist t-shirt. But the point is, that video got brought up on stage. The title of my video. And he talks about that. And he just goes, there's this one video titled, People Want YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki Fired, and completely dismissed everything I said. Didn't even watch the video. Just saw the thumbnail, saw the title. It's a respectful title, right? I'm saying this is legitimate. I'm legitimately conveying why people want Susan Wojcicki to be fired. That's not something that people don't know about. That's not something that people aren't thinking about and haven't called for. Now, this is also from 10 months ago, right? So what was 10 months ago? 10 months ago was, the beginning of the year, as we're coming off of, as we're coming off of the Adpocalypse year 1, so to speak, as we're coming into the new year, and they're talking about new things on YouTube and the way Susan handled things, which wasn't good and hasn't been good at all. There's a lot of that. So again, it's one of those things where looking at the way that they're trying to coddle her once again, and I feel bad saying that, because I don't want anyone to be, I think they're protecting her because they're protecting her. I do. I just think they're protecting her, and they're not holding her feet to the fire, because at this point now, the alt-right, Alex Jones, conspiracy theorists, whatever, they're the target of YouTube's ire, so to speak. Right. And it feels like most of us are on the chopping block in one way or another. So I get that. But I just find it to be funny that the way I look at it is like YouTube hasn't really learned much. And if they have, they're going the opposite direction in many cases. because they're trying to bring in more corporate. They're trying to bring in more branded content, things like that, and that's where the money is. And I get that, but it does really feel like the U in YouTube is almost effectively over.